Another out of control ship. This one didn't actually hit the bridge, but the bridge was closed down for a while. It was going so fast, you'll hear it. This officer, how fast it's going. And wow, another one. Anyway, the next bit that you're going to hear is a bit of the news. Obviously, I think this happened on the 6th of June, but I don't know, I kept looking at her neck a bit. Anyway, it's just crazy, another ship nearly hitting a bridge. Maybe this one didn't go right. Maybe the ship went under the bridge and out. It moored about, they said 8 miles out. That seems a long way while they checked the boat. But anyway, let's watch the video.
It really was a near disaster this afternoon here in the Low Country. Authorities receiving word of a container ship experiencing a mechanical issue on the Cooper River right near the Ravenel Bridge.
News 2's Jordan Sayopa is live in Mount Pleasant right now at Waterfront Park in Jordan. This caused major traffic backups this afternoon. Tell us more about what happened.
Yeah, Carolyn, Brendan. Well, the U.S. Coast Guard says Charleston Harbor pilots reported an out-of-control container ship around just after 12 p.m. today. So authorities quickly jumped into action, stopping all traffic in the water as well as on the bridge. Now, we spoke with one woman who was riding her bike over the bridge as this was all happening. Video shows what was deemed an out-of-control container ship speeding under an abnormally empty Arthur Ravenel Bridge Wednesday afternoon. According to the United States Coast Guard, the crew aboard the MSC Michigan 7 lost ability to control the engines. The Charleston Harbor pilots alerted the sector command center of the issues just after 12 p.m.
They were stuck nearly full ahead with the vessel making between 14 to 17 knots.
Charleston police say they closed down all lanes of traffic on the Ravenel Bridge shortly after 12:40 p.m. Pedestrians and bicyclists like Lisa Riente were driven off the bridge by officers.
I threw my bike down, grabbed my phone, and jumped in the back of the police car with a couple other pedestrians, and it was kind of scary. We were going about, we were going across the bridge trying to get other pedestrians and warn them that there was what they said an out-of-control boat headed towards the bridge.
The Coast Guard says the 997-foot vessel traveling to Savannah cleared the harbor without any major incidents. According to authorities, 2 recreational boaters were treated for injuries after they were pushed onto the rocks from the wake near Daniel Island. Other minor damage was sustained in the ship's path.
We train for the unexpected, and this is definitely one of those situations that was unexpected.
Now, unfortunately, we know the worst outcome for this type of situation based off of what happened in Baltimore, Maryland earlier this year when a vessel crashed into a bridge there. Now, back here at home, the bridge did reopen to traffic after a few minutes. As of this afternoon, the Coast Guard said the ship was anchored about 8.5 miles out offshore while they investigated and inspected it. The Coast Guard is leading this investigation. Reporting live in Mount Pleasant, I'm Jordan Sayopa. Count on 2.
Hello everybody, I came across this little video when I was looking at Facebook. I thought it was quite a good explanation. It's by Ken, whatever his name is, official. So we're putting this little video out. It's an explanation of what this person thinks happened to the Grand Canyon. I've got a feeling, he could be telling the truth, but when you look at it, it just looks mined as well. But maybe that's what water does. But anyway, let's watch this little video. Thank you very much to the person that put this out on TikTok, and it's been copied and copied. But anyway, let's watch the video.
Now, it's always amazed me how 2 people can look at the same thing and come to opposite conclusions of what they are seeing. 2 people can look at Grand Canyon. One of them believes in evolution. He looks at the canyon and says, wow, look what the Colorado River did for millions and millions of years. The Bible-believing Christian stands there, looks at the same canyon, and says, wow, look what the flood did in about 30 minutes. Now, how was that canyon formed anyway? This textbook says over millions of years, the Colorado River has carved the Grand Canyon from solid rock. Now just slow down a minute. Kids, it is a fact Grand Canyon exists. How many have been to Grand Canyon? I taught earth science, studied Grand Canyon avidly. I like Grand Canyon. Beautiful place. Big hole in the ground. Now there are two interpretations of how it got there. The evolutionists have an interpretation, and so do the creationists. The evolutionist is going to tell you that canyon formed slowly by a little bit of water and lots of time. Millions of years. The creationist is going to tell you, oh, the canyon formed quickly by lots of water and a little bit of time. The guys who believe in evolution are continually trying to erase the line between their interpretation and the fact column, and they want you to somehow think that what they interpret as evidence is now part of the fact. You got to really watch them on this. They're pretty slick. This textbook author does it just blatantly. He says, the Colorado River has cut through layer upon layer of rock over millions of years. Now just hold on a minute. I was in a debate one time and this atheist said, Hovind, you're so dumb. Don't you know it took millions of years to make Grand Canyon? I said, well, sir, I taught earth science for years. I really enjoy studying Grand Canyon. I said, did you know if you built a dam across Grand Canyon, that would take a lot of dirt, by the way, but if you did, a huge lake would fill in behind it. Did you know some of the water from Montana drains through the Grand Canyon? It's a huge drainage area. I said, sir, did you know that in between these two red lines is what we call the snow line? There's a ridge right there. The Grand Canyon enters at the far right over here. The elevation of the river at that point is 2,800 feet above sea level. The river flows downhill for 270 miles and comes out the other side. And in between, while the river's flowing down, the ground is rising up and then slowly coming back down. It is so wide, 270 miles, that you don't notice it until you get way back and look at it from a satellite. But if you look at it in its cross-section, this schematic shows the difference here. The river enters right here and flows downhill and comes out the other side. It's actually going through a giant ridge, 270 miles long. At the highest point of the ridge, the river's at about 1,800 foot elevation, so it's nearly a 1 mile drop down into the canyon. Really big hole in the ground. I says, now sir, there are a couple things you ought to consider about Grand Canyon. I said, did you know the top of Grand Canyon is higher than the bottom? He said, yes. I said, sir, did you know the river runs through the bottom? He said, yes. I said, sir, did you know the top is higher than where the river enters the canyon? By over 4,000 feet. I said, sir, did you know that rivers don't flow uphill? I said, sir, did you know there is no delta? Nobody knows where the mud is that got washed out of there, but it's probably out in the Pacific Ocean. They can't find the delta for Grand Canyon. There is no possible way that river made that canyon. Grand Canyon is quite obviously a washed out spillway. There used to be two big lakes, Grand Lake and Hopi Lake, and they got too full one day, who knows when. I suspect shortly after the flood. Maybe a few hundred years later, the ice caps melted or something, and the lakes got too full, and the water went over the top, while the ground was still relatively soft. Within the first few hundred years, washed out that canyon in a hurry. There are still beaches where the lakes used to be. They call them Grand Lake and Hopi Lake. The lake is long gone, but you can still see the beach line where the lake used to be. Grand Canyon is a washed out spillway, folks. The water got too deep, went over the top, and washed out that whole region in a real big hurry. So when they tell you it took millions of years, they're lying to you. It did not. It's not geophysically possible. If you look at the way most rivers come together, almost all rivers join at what are called acute angles, less than 90 degrees. You can look at any map of the world, nearly all rivers come together and keep going the same general direction. Well, if you look at Grand Canyon, the rivers on the lower left side join at acute angles, normal river pattern. If you look at the right side, the rivers go backwards and run into the channel and turn around and come back the other way. This is evidence of a big lake that is draining. Any farmer that's ever built a dam to hold water to feed his cows or something, or water his cows, will tell you, once the water goes over the top of the dam, it can wash it out in a hurry. And it doesn't wash away the whole dam, it washes one slot, wherever the water finds the weakest point. So the water's running backwards off the dam to hit the lower channel, turn around, come back the other way. Grand Canyon was not formed by the Colorado River, folks. Grand Canyon was formed by a flood.
Steam cars and carriages. This one says 1899, and this is the one that we're going to look at. I think he's an Italian man because he goes ciao, but he's obviously quite shocked that the steam car exists. So we're just looking at this. So it seems it was a mixture of things, but it had water in it, and it made steam. And it says in here they were a lot safer than using gasoline. So why do we use gasoline then? Money. Look at that. How fast could they go? 127 miles an hour. That's not bad. You can't travel that far on the road, so that's a good speed. Gas-powered cars became more convenient. Why? Surely the steam ones were more convenient. We could fill them up at home and wouldn't have to worry about buying petrol. That's something else that used steam. And these are the names. So there's 1881, but it goes back to 1843. Squire of England. So we're just gonna, in a moment, we're going to look at a few of the cars that, well, when you go to the pictures of this. So why didn't they just leave it as water? We could have filled our cars up at home. See, that one is the Squire. Steam cars and carriages. This one says 1899, and this is the one that we're going to look at. I think he's an Italian man because he goes ciao, but he's obviously quite shocked that the steam car exists. So we're just looking at this. So it seems it was a mixture of things, but it had water in it, and it made steam. And it says in here they were a lot safer than using gasoline. So why do we use gasoline then? Money. Look at that. How fast could they go? 127 miles an hour. That's not bad. You can't travel that far on the road, so that's a good speed. Gas-powered cars became more convenient. Why? Surely the steam ones were more convenient. We could fill them up at home and wouldn't have to worry about buying petrol. That's something else that used steam. And these are the names. So there's 1881, but it goes back to 1843. Squire of England. So we're just gonna, in a moment, we're going to look at a few of the cars that, well, when you go to the pictures of this. So why didn't they just leave it as water? We could have filled our cars up at home. See, that one is the Squire's steam carriage. That says 1882 to 1834. And then obviously these are the... Anyway, we're going to play the little video in a minute. It's incredible that we don't use steam cars. There's one. It's not the one in our video, but we're going to play the video now. So leave your thoughts afterwards. Thanks for watching.
Amici, qui qualcosa non quadra, sono veramente un po' scioccato, per non dire allibito. Guardate questa macchina qui, è del 1906, a parte che comunque è bella, va già i sedili in pelle eccetera eccetera, molto elegante, di lusso, Attenzione però, mi sa che non ce la contano giusta fino a partire dal 1906, guardate. Allora ragazzi, ma dove sta la fregatura? Leggiamo bene. Allora, questa Gardner Serpollet da 12-15 cavalli con una velocità di 80 km all'ora massima, prodotta nel 1906. Leggiamo bene, attenzione, leggiamo bene, guardate qua, guardate. Allora, la marca francese nasce da un accordo bla 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 del paragone, magnate bla bla bla. Poi è un motore con cilindri gemelli a doppio effetto, con distribuzione a valvole e trasmissione a catena. Era capace di percorrere circa 200 km con un rifornimento d'acqua. Di acqua. Quindi amici, benzina, diesel, elettrico, idrogeno, tutto quello che si discute adesso nel 2024 e nel 1906 questa macchina andava, nel serbatoio ci mettevi l'acqua. 200 km. Pazzesco amici, ciao.